2015, July 26th, 10 a.m. It's Elsabeth's wedding day. She's 23, brown hair made blonde, golden brown eyes. She's my twin. I'm Ellsworth, also aged 23. I kept my hair brown, but I share the golden brown eyes. She's 13 minutes older, and always reminds me that she's the popular one of the two of us. She was homecoming queen, snow queen, and prom queen in our senior year in high school. Me, I asked this guy out to prom, but he ghosted me when this girl asked him out, so I never went. He never said sorry. My sister's marrying Grayson, age 24, black hair, black eyes. She isn't pregnant, no children involved. Mom and Dad paid for the wedding. Her parents paid for the honeymoon. Everything is paid for, or soon will be. A florist has crafted 100 centerpieces and draping floral swags and is setting up the last one. The teal boutonnieres and corsages are prepared, ready for the bridal and groom's parties to pick them up. About half have been picked up. None for me, though. Instead, remember the pink ribbons people sometimes wear for breast cancer awareness? I wore a rainbow ribbon on my lapel. It's not to advertise that I'm gay, but it symbolized inclusivity, equality, and support for LGBTQ+ rights. Sometimes it's hard to tell who lives under the rainbow, and this helps. It started a lot of conversations. The cake designer is adding the final touches to the 4-tier wedding cake, adorned with teal frosting flowers and sparkling pearls. Beneath the elegant decorations, the lemon vanilla layers filled the reception hall with a warm, inviting aroma. A couple hundred mini sweet rolls lay organized on a teal-draped table nearby. Caterers are in charge of the wedding brunch, the hors d'oeuvres, and light snacks for the reception, and have begun setting up their tables even though we haven't started the service yet. They promised not to make a racket during the ceremony. The photographer and videographer have wandered throughout the hall and have snapped, recorded, or cut miles of footage. So far, it sounds normal for the most exciting day of my sister's life. It took nearly a year to put the event together. Plans, taste tests, color swatches, dress fittings, and the eventual tux fittings. Elsabeth didn't want anything black. Too depressing, she had said. It was even written on all the invitations, "Don't wear black." All the men in the bridal and groom's parties wore silvery gray tuxedos. Parents also. Not siblings, or at least not this one. My sister's budget had limits, or so she had claimed. I wore brown slacks, a gray tweed jacket found at the clearance store, and a teal turtleneck that wasn't close to the color Elizabeth had wanted. 2 days ago, when she found out what I was going to wear, she'd thrown a tantrum until I offered to let her buy me a new one. "You just won't be in any pictures," she replied. "Fine with me," I said, and went back to Call of Duty. I was going to move out a year ago, but my folks needed the money because they were paying for the wedding. I stayed and rented the basement. It's not so bad. I'm close to the bus routes, don't have to pay anything for laundry, and Mom and Pop don't hassle me until rent is due. $500 due on the first every month, plus 1/4 utilities. Why a turtleneck? Stiff collared shirts with ties irritate my neck, and I get a million ingrowns. I've been shaving regularly since I was 15, and my sales job at Young Automotive prefers men look professional. Clean-shaven, professional haircuts, slacks, and nice shirts. Thank God we don't have to wear ties. Mr. Young signs the paychecks, so I dress the way he wants. About 80 chairs are arranged in neat rows, facing the wedding arch, adorned in teals and creams. To the side, a baby grand piano stands ready, while 2 women fine-tune their violins, their quiet adjustments adding to the anticipation. The most expensive place my parents' budget could afford. The happiest day of the year. For my sister, for Grayson, Possibly for my folks, though Mom dabs at her eyes constantly. But I missed the happiness bus. I pretend to be happy, but I am filled with regrets. I've been in love with Grayson since the first time my sister brought him home 18 months ago. Love knows no logic. Grayson talked to Pop on the far side of the room, his hands shoved deep into his pockets, his teal bow tie at an angle. Pop reached forward, adjusting Grayson's tie until it sat right. Subconsciously, I smoothed the collar of my teal turtleneck. Was I the only guy here who didn't wear a shirt and tie? I calculated how much I had paid this past year. $7.2 grand plus $1,000 for Mom's emergency car repairs. I had seen the invoices for my sister's dress. $6 grand and some change. She never had a mind for finances. She'll spend whatever she wants as long as she can get somebody else to pay for it. And don't ask her to finish anything. Her novel that was going to change the world? She'd written 3 chapters before she decided it was too boring. The 5K she ran right after high school? She called an Uber 2 kilometers in. College, she lasted 2 years, never deciding on a major. She did go partying every weekend. The longest she stayed at a single job was 6 months. Boyfriends? 11? 12? Since high school? How many fly-by-nights? She had dated Grayson for nearly 2 years, a world record for her. Mom and Pop were proud of her settling down. Elizabeth even stated that Grayson was worth retiring her social life for. I found it ironic that I had basically paid for her dress, and the cake, and the pianist. My little old job at the coffee shop didn't pay a lot, but it paid enough for rent, utilities, and tuition. Who needs healthy food? Cheap works. Just barely. The cake designer stepped back from the cake, admiring her finished masterpiece. She arranged a couple of miniature LED spotlights to give the cake the dramatic effect. The florist finished the last of the decorative swags. One of the groomsmen plugged a cord into the wall, and the hall transformed into a spectacle. Thousands of white lights illuminated every column, every flower arrangement, every floral swag, the pillars, even the bridal arch, and the setting beyond. "It's beautiful," one of the bridesmaids exclaimed. "Elizabeth won't like it," the maid of honor replied, pointing to a window. "It was supposed to be dim and romantic, but with all that sunlight, we could work on our tans." I walked over to them, old acquaintances from high school. "Aren't you supposed to be with the bride? You know, the whole thing about the groom not seeing you guys until the wedding march?" The maid of honor glanced at the rainbow ribbon on my lapel. Elizabeth needed a moment. Alone. "Your sister dismissed us, so where else would we go?" the bridesmaid said, her voice hinting of snarkiness. "Elizabeth wouldn't like your shirt. Turtlenecks aren't very stylish, and it's supposed to be teal with a touch of regal cyan, not teal that looks like it fell off the rack at Walmart." That's where I found it," I volunteered. They giggled. I guess the conversation was over. None of us were people, at least not today, merely props in my sister's version of reality. I looked at the ceiling and mentally prayed, "Give me strength." It was going to be a long day. One quick look at Grayson. I wish I could trade places with my sister, but they're in love. He barely knows me, and only as the weird twin brother who dresses in his own unique way. Grayson looked up, catching my stare. His eyebrows lowered, and his smile faltered. I shrugged and went to help one of the groomsmen straighten the chairs. Did Grayson think of me at all? Even if it wasn't romantic? I dreamed of his arms holding me, wondered what his lips tasted like, what it would be like to lose myself in his eyes. To lay beside him on a blanket in some park, looking at the sunset clouds and talking about our dreams, our hopes, our love, holding each other as we watched fireworks at the 4th of July celebration. I could wish that he would like me like I crushed on him. But the truth, he was marrying my sister. The caterers yelped. A metal serving tray slipped and clattered to the table. Little cheese and ham sandwiches rolled in all directions, threatening to tumble off, each held together by a toothpick with a teal flag bearing the initials G, Red Heart, E. I scrambled to catch some, the caterers the others. We rescued all but 5. Any minute now, the first guests would arrive. Was there ever a chance for Grayson and me? Nope. I guess we're going to be brothers-in-law, Grayson said, walking toward me, rubbing the back of his neck. Hi, I managed, tongue-tied at his closeness, breathing rapid. Must be exciting, getting married and all. Grayson turned slightly, his gaze drifting toward the rainbow ribbon. His eyes lingered, the faintest return of his lips, before he looked out at the gardens beyond the crystal windows. I feel like we've met before, have we? I faced him, only a foot away, locking onto his dark eyes, his olive skin, the teal tie at his neck. I think I would have remembered, I replied. My heart pounded, a bongo rhythm, loud, heavy. My throat had gone dry. Grayson ran his fingers through his hair. I was jealous. I wanted to do that. We've never talked, Grayson murmured. Elspeth wouldn't let me. Don't take it wrong, but I think she feels threatened by you. I chuckled. I guess she thinks I'm going to jump your sexy bones the moment I get you alone. Isn't that what gay guys do? The problem? That's exactly what I wanted to do. Standing this close made my heart ache in a way I'd never experienced. Grayson hesitated, silence stretching, the conversation threatening to falter. I don't know what Elspeth told you, but I really am a nice guy, I said. He glanced at his shoes, black loafers polished to a mirror finished, evidently debating whether talking to me was a risk worth taking. What's it like being a twin? He asked. I shrugged, inhaling his scent, a subtle spice, the faint scent of product in his hair, and the woodsy trace of his soap. It was the same cologne he'd worn the first night when he met the family. Mom had made pot roast with all the trimmings. I sat next to him, trying hard not to stare. Once, passing the potatoes, our hands had touched, an electric thrill that made me look twice. That's when I had fallen in love. Grayson never noticed, too busy impressing my parents. Elspeth was too busy showing off her prize boyfriend. But Pop? I think Pop had noticed. He never said anything. I suppose it's like any other sibling, I finally replied. I sat on a metal folding chair. Grayson took the seat next to me. I guess what I'm asking for is a funny story I can use later. Know any? I thought for a moment, then said, back in 4th grade, our elementary school had this Halloween parade. Elspeth and I swapped outfits. I dressed up like her, she dressed up like me. Mom went all out. Frilly dress, styled hair, even makeup. Honestly, I felt pretty. I smirked at the memory. Grayson twisted a little in his chair until his eyes held mine. Anyway, I continued, we spent the day switching classes, seeing if we could fool the teachers. My teacher, Mrs. Little, spotted the swap instantly, thought it was hilarious. But Elspeth's teacher, Mrs. Pembroke, she wore those old-style glasses, the kind that balance at the end of your nose. And? Grayson asked, smiling. About 5 minutes into the lesson, she was pacing the aisles, scanning the classroom. Then she adjusted her glasses, squinted at me, and asked, Did you dress up for a date? Who's the lucky boy? You're really cute today. I laughed. Even now, almost 20 years later, I remembered the fun. The kids teased Elspeth for months after that, said her brother was cuter than she was. She still hates me for it. Grayson chuckled, shaking his head. I'm not sure I dare use that. I met his gaze, offering a small, knowing smile. The silence spread between us, before Grayson leaned down, eyes staring at his shoes. Did you know that 18% of grooms are drunk at the altar? I wish I was one of them. You can't imagine the stress. I didn't think. I felt his stress. I reached out and gripped his hand. It's okay, I'm a friend. Grayson glanced at my hand on his, but didn't move. Your sister says you're gay, and I need to watch out. I nodded. Had I crossed boundaries? Slowly, I withdrew my hand from his. Does it make you uncomfortable, having me for a brother-in-law? His gaze moved from his shoes to my face. Grayson sat up, a haunted look about his eyes. No, you're different from your sister. Quieter, gentler, kinder. I never was flashy, I said. Sis is the outgoing party animal. She was part of a sorority back in college. Parties every weekend. Still does. Me? That's not my life. What is your life? Pretty boring by comparison, I responded. When I get the chance, I drive to the mountains and spend the day hiking. There's this one trail. It's not on any maps, but we call it the Lost Waterfall Trail. I pulled out my phone, scrolled through my gallery, and found the pictures I wanted. Activating one, I enlarged it and showed Grayson. It's about an hour's drive into the mountains, then an hour's hike, and it sneaks up on you. You think you missed it, and there it is. The picture was of a small pond with a gentle waterfall trickling over the rocks. A couple of tall trees shielded it from the sun. A small ring of rocks held a campfire, with a hiker's grill supported on the rocks, grilling a couple of steaks. A friend sat by the fire, staring at me, wide-eyed, sticking his tongue out and pulling down his left eye. Is that your boyfriend? Rather cute, Grayson asked. I snorted. Was Grayson only making conversation? Was he teasing? His comment startled me. None of them wanted to walk that far from a civilization. There's no cell coverage out there. That guy's one of my hiking friends. Nothing serious? Grayson asked. He's straight, has a wife and a 2-year-old son, I replied. So, yeah, nothing serious. Next time you go, let me know. Grayson glanced at me, his shoulders relaxing. I'd like to see this lost waterfall. Have you ever taken your sister? Elsabeth? She wouldn't survive 5 minutes without her phone, I said, chuckling at the thought. And hiking? The only time she does nature is when it's background in a movie. She won't go into a park. Because she's afraid she'll step in dog crap, Grayson answered, mirroring my chuckle. We had that conversation. The silence fell in between the spaces, but it didn't feel awkward. Warm, natural. If Grayson wasn't getting married to my sister, I'd ask him out. I leaned back, relaxing as well. If she ever allows you to go, I said, she'll demand you pay for a spa day for her and her girlfriends as compensation for leaving her alone. She already has, he replied. We shared a smile, and Grayson placed his hand on mine. She and her friends share an IV drip called cell phones. They miss any text or notification, and the whole group flatlines. The minister walked in, shaking hands with Pop, and speaking quietly about something. The wedding, I supposed. Grayson stiffened, inhaling a shallow breath. Grayson half laughed, but the sound didn't sound joyful. I told her that I wanted to take a break from phones for our honeymoon. Leave them with our parents because we won't need them. Elsabeth said no. She wants to film everything, even what we eat, and post the pictures so she can make her friends jealous. An older couple entered that I didn't recognize. Grandparents on Grayson's side, I assumed, followed by my aunt and uncle and their young children. The pianist shuffled some music and went to talk to the minister and Pop. Elsabeth lives for her friends, I said. But my bitterness showed up in my tone. Hope you like to share. What do you mean? Grayson asked. A caterer walked past us, carrying several fluted glasses filled with champagne and heading to the table. The first toast to the couple, something Elizabeth had insisted on at the end of the ceremony. Once the caterer left, I went over to the table and grabbed 2 glasses. One for me, one for Grayson. After I sat back down, I answered his question. It felt like all my life I had to share my parents' love. They had only wanted one child, a girl. Instead, they had 2. Elizabeth was the child they always wanted, so naturally she got the love. I got the scraps. I don't think they meant to make her the favorite child. I think they tried to make things equal, but it didn't feel equal. The maid of honor pulled her phone out of her designer clutch, read it, said something to the bridesmaids, and they all left. One paused to grab a fluted glass of champagne, drained it dry, and sped after the others. Must be time for the lineup, and somebody was nervous. Grayson and I both chuckled, but I don't think either of us found it funny. I guess I'm old-fashioned, Grayson said, slumping back in his seat. Dad's got my phone right now because, well, today's supposed to be about us. I don't think your sister thinks it is. Grayson's father Speed walked into the hall, directly to my father and the minister. They spoke a moment. The pianist who had overheard said something, then walked to the piano. Elizabeth has her own way of doing things, I said. Us mere mortals can never understand. Pop looked about for a moment, his eyes meeting mine. He speed-walked over to me and said, Good to see you two getting along. He glanced at his wristwatch, his fingers squirming into a casual fist. Odd thing to start a conversation with, seeing this was the 3rd time Grayson and I had actually spoke. But I said nothing. The music began playing, a piano rendition of Love Me Like You Do by Ellie Goulding. Sir, Grayson said, sitting up, everything all right? Pop's gaze didn't leave mine, lingering a second too long. My stomach sank. There's been a wardrobe malfunction, he said, but everything is under control. The ceremony will be delayed 15 minutes. His voice was firm and smooth, but underneath was a note of panic. That wasn't the full story. Everything wasn't under control, but he wouldn't say the real reason, not in front of Grayson. Grayson leaned back, observing the room, the guests, the lack of my mom, and his parents. A few more wedding guests walked in. An usher took a silver-clad wedding gift, about the size of a toaster box, setting it in the pile of similar gifts by the door. I bet Elizabeth had been drinking, and she spilled wine on her expensive dress, I said. Dad simply nodded. With your sister, nothing is ever that simple. He left to inform the other guests about the delay. What he didn't say, and I could only guess, was keep Grayson distracted. So I did the first thing that popped into my mind. I stood up, took his hand, and, without hesitation, said, Let's practice your first dance. His eyes widened. That had been the perfect shock to his system. What? I don't want you making a fool of yourself at the reception, I said, offering my most innocent smile. Besides, you've never danced with someone as smooth as me. Grayson smirked. Really? I shrugged. Are you afraid to be seen with a gay man? No, he shot back, quick. Are you afraid to be seen with a straight one? I grinned, pulling him to his feet. We moved toward the side of the hall, in an open space near the wedding cake. I placed my hands lightly on his hips, eyes locked on his. Box step, I said. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Stiff at first, Grayson relaxed into the dance. I know how to dance. We began moving as one, each intuiting the other's moves as if we had danced together before. The videographer angled to record us, the photographer snapping pictures. You've been holding out, I said, grinning. You know, Grayson leaned in close to my ear, you're not the first man I've danced with, but I will say you're better than he was." The pianist shifted. A Sky Full of Stars by Coldplay. More people showed up for the wedding. The minister announced the ceremony would be delayed a few minutes. "Did someone have a secret one-night stand?" I whispered so only Grayson could hear. I offered my most shocked smile. "Truth or dare, big boy." Grayson blushed. "It was nothing. We were drunk. We heard this song on the radio and just, started dancing. Completely innocent. No big deal." I smirked. "Did he kiss you, or did you kiss him?" Grayson's lip caught between his teeth. That telltale, barely there smile, giving away everything. "I'll take the dare," he said. Then suddenly he whirled me around, laughing, unguarded, the wedding forgotten. His grip was strong, sure, his breath tinged with mint, his jacket smooth, crisp, the silk of his shirt warm, fitted perfectly to him, that subtle, familiar cologne. I giggled, my soul light and airy, just like my feet felt. I bit my lip, but the smile escaped anyway. People looked up. Some whispered. I didn't care. Grayson laughed, the stress lines around his mouth easing into a grin. More guests looked at us. Some pulled out their phones, filming. The videographer caught every movement. The photographer knelt, taking a picture of us holding each other and dancing near the wedding cake. "You keep this up," I whispered, voice barely above the music, "and you'll have to marry me." Best proposal I've had all week. Grayson's grin matched mine, and he swung out his arm. I spun to the end of it, then he pulled me back in. His grandmother leaned toward another woman, whispering loudly, "Is that the bride? It looks like a man, and they're dancing. Did we miss the wedding?" "It hasn't started yet," the other woman said, patting grandmother's gloved hand. Pop peeked in, saw us, and ducked back out. He held his jaw in that way when he was about to yell at me for doing something wrong. Except I hadn't done anything wrong. Except dance with the groom, and I wasn't about to stop. "Our honeymoon is in Miami. The beaches, the restaurants, the music," Grayson said. "But I bet you already knew that. Where would you go if you could choose any place?" "I'd start in Miami, but why stop there?" I said, loosely wrapping my arms about his neck. "Why not a 2-week honeymoon cruise through the Caribbean, the Bahamas, Barbados, the Dominican Republic?" I inhaled deeply, picturing St. Lucia, turquoise seas, white beaches, a tropical heaven on earth. The music shifted. Pachelbel's Canon in D, the wedding march. Grayson let out a breath. "We'll have to save up. 2 weeks in paradise isn't cheap." "Promise me, we'll go on our 10th anniversary," I flirted. Grayson's gaze softened. He gave me the truthful lie. "We will always have this dance." I caught what he meant instantly. Whatever this was, whatever it could have been, would never be. He was marrying my sister, whenever the ceremony finally started. I don't know why I asked. Maybe it was the way his shoulders slumped, his slow measured breath, like he was carrying something heavy. "Do you love her?" I asked, holding Grayson a little tighter. His fingers casually brushed my back, absent-minded, distracted. "A little," he finally admitted, voice quieter than before, barely above the music. "She's been different these last few months. I thought it was wedding jitters, but I don't know. Maybe I'm imagining things." The cake designer packed up her supplies and disappeared out the side door. The last of the guests settled into their seats. The ushers topped off the gift table with more silver-clad boxes. The groomsmen loitered, trying to look useful. The best man slipped out of the hall. And yet the bridal party was missing. No bridesmaids, no maid of honor, no parents of the bride, Mom and Pop nowhere to be seen, and no Elsabeth. Even Grayson's parents hadn't arrived. The only person on the podium, Standing near the wedding arch was the minister. He sat back in his chair, gaze fixed on the wedding cake, calm, unmoved. "Let's get some air," I said, taking Grayson's hand and leading us to the side door, and outside, to the gardens. Though it would be hot later, it was bearable now. The sun glared down, bright, unyielding, chasing away the shadows. A large lawn lay outside, a concrete stage at one end. Scalloped borders barely contained the kaleidoscope of roses, tall delphiniums, delicate spears of foxglove, clumps of snapdragons, and bushes of violet lavender, a garden of wonder. The soft hum of springtime bees, the whisper of a breeze on our skin, the lemony essence of the roses. For the first time, magic didn't seem like a myth. It felt real, tangible, and we were walking in the middle of it. We wandered away into a grove of tall white flowers with an ethereal silver gazing pond in the center, the perfect spot for a moonlight rendezvous. We wandered enchanted pathways and mystic ponds, all organized around color and love. We talked as we walked, holding hands, sensing a connection between our souls that was more than words could describe. We clicked together, meshing as had never happened with any other boyfriend. We knew each other, deeply, impossibly, connecting on the gut level. I ached to hold him, but that would be crossing a line. He was marrying my sister. We had reached the edge of the property, an Italian bakery called the Dolce Bakery across the street, an Italian flag in the window, and plastic tables and chairs out front. I jerked my thumb in that direction. Grayson took my hand and we walked over. Within minutes, we sat at one of the tables and ordered a slice of today's special, Torta de Mandorle, almond cake. A romantic song played in the background. We sat, side by side, our shoulders an inch apart. "It looks delicious," Grayson commented, as the owner served us each a slice of almond cake. "I hope you like it," the owner said. "My youngest daughter, Kiara, is allergic to dairy and eggs, so I created a vegan version and drizzled it with Belgium dark chocolate." "What's the song?" I asked. "L'Essenziale" by Marco Mangone, Chiara's favorite, the owner said. And then he folded his arms around his oversized belly and smiled a grin that spread across his face. "We have a tradition back in Taormina. Once lovers taste the Torta de Mandorle, they will never lie to each other, and their love will grow as tall as Mount Etna. Ciao, my friends." "I promise never to lie," I said to Grayson. Grayson sliced the cake, picking up a piece with his fork, and looked at it before placing it in his mouth. "Same here," Grayson said, but his hand trembled slightly. Our eyes met, an instant connection. A phrase from Shelley came into my mind, something I read back in college. "When soul meets soul on lover's lip." The owner walked inside, sighing longingly. The almond cake sweetly scented the air. A car passed by, slowly, as if searching for addresses. In this magical moment, we both had forgotten the looming marriage. I casually asked, "Would you go with me to the new Mission Impossible movie? Opening night is July 31st, but I have a friend who works at a radio station and can get us tickets to the midnight showing at the IMAX the night before. Early reviews said it's good." "You like spy movies?" Grayson casually cut a small piece of his cake, balancing it on his fork, and fed it to me. I savored the bite before I said, "Since I was a kid, I'll take us out to dinner beforehand. Mildred's Diner isn't far from there." "It's been a while since I've seen a movie in a movie theater," he said. I cut a piece of my almond cake, making sure I had some of the chocolate drizzle, and fed it to Grayson. He hesitated before eating it. "It's an IMAX," I said. "With Dolby Atmos, the sound is razor sharp, surrounding you from every direction, above, below, around." I trailed my fingers up his sleeve, drifting to his bicep, then his shoulder. You haven't seen a movie unless you've seen it on an IMAX GT laser projection system. The image is razor sharp, and our theater is one of the first to have it. Grayson glanced at my hand, lips parting. He didn't move. Leather seats, I whispered, leaning close, the warmth of his body evoking a response from me. So comfortable you want to spend all day in them. Grayson gave me a half smile, his eyes glimmering. I'll hold your hand if you get scared, I whispered. Grayson had missed a spot of chocolate on his lower lip. With a smile, he replied, You are far more dangerous than your sister. I took that as an invitation and kissed the exact spot of chocolate. His lips warm, velvety, stiff at first, relaxing into the moment. Our lips opened. It wasn't a virginal prom night kiss, but an evolving passion that threatened to overwhelm. The chocolate, dark, delicious, the perfect accent to our kiss. I pulled back. Grayson had closed his eyes, immersed in the magic we had shared. His eyes slowly opened, followed by a smile. We leaned our heads together, and he whispered, You're easy to love. Sometimes I wish I wasn't, I licked my lips, biting my lower lip as I smiled. I shouldn't have done that, but consider it a hint of what could have been. He chuckled. I chuckled. The magic lingered, the taste of chocolate on my lips. Owner peeked out the door to make sure we were okay. A car drove past. Grayson's cheeks reddened. He tried to hide it by taking a bite of the almond cake. The heavy, rapid thud of angry footsteps interrupted. Just a few feet away, his dad yelled, Grayson, come here right now. Grayson flinched, his back arching. He looked about, seeing the looming figure of his father rampaging across the street, gray suit disheveled, nostrils flaring, face turning red. Oh God, what had I just done? My stomach was about to be sick. I'd kissed the man my sister would marry within the hour. Today is a damn disaster, Grayson's father yelled, his eyes glancing at me before focusing on his son. Had he seen our kiss? Of course he had. Like an idiot, I gave in to the moment. Now, Grayson's dad was furious. My sister would get hysterical. Hi, I stammered. I can explain. You're the gay brother, aren't you? Your dad said you sold cars and helped finance this disgrace, he said, grabbing Grayson's wrist. Grayson grabbed mine. The owner of the Dolce Bakery yelled, I'll box up your cake and send it to your reception. Grayson tried tugging his arm free from his father's. His voice defiant, he yelled, It wasn't what it looked like. His father muttered, $5,000. That's what the honeymoon cost. Too late for a damned refund. What? I yelled. All the money you and your dad paid for this mess, he growled, towing us inside. Wasted. The guilt smothered me like an avalanche. I should never have kissed Grayson. It's my fault. I was the one to kiss Grayson. He was wishing me luck. Grayson had turned pale. We're going to be brothers-in-law. He's just a little more, demonstrative than most. His dad stared at us as if we were insane. Blame me. I'm too open about my emotions. Gets me in trouble all the time. I blurted. I'm sorry, Grayson. I shouldn't have kissed you. Don't worry, Grayson whispered, his tone tender. But it was nice. Glaring at me, Grayson's dad mouth grimaced. You kissed my son. I never did understand gay people, but that doesn't matter. Grayson's dad yelled. He let go of Grayson's hand and said, Follow me. Maybe we can salvage something. He led us back into the reception hall and down the short passage marked bridal party. A similar one for a groom's party was on the opposite side of the building. The hallway seemed narrow, oppressive, closing in on us. Grayson's breath hitched. His grip tightened. At the end was a door marked Chamber of the Bride. Pop stood in the doorway. Mom's voice came from inside. But Grayson is a wonderful boy. You love him. Grayson's mom then added, Every bride gets cold feet, honey. It's nothing to worry about. We'll help you get back into your dress. Another voice as well, male, calm, speaking that the grass isn't greener on the other side of the road. The minister had brought his wisdom. Then my sister cried, I don't want to be married. A short moan, I don't want to marry Grayson. I don't want to give up my life for anybody. I want to be free. Pop sighed, looking older than he had this morning. Then why did you say yes? Grayson, still gripping my hand, stepped into the room. He had paled. I deserve to know the reason you're dumping me on our wedding day. Is there someone else? Elizabeth sat on a frilly bed, the $6,000 dress casually tossed across a chair, the symbol of their love cast aside. Heavy makeup made her features perfect, flawless, a beautiful woman ready for the most important day of her life. Teal roses graced the room, and the bridal bouquet sat on a custom holder. A heavy scent of roses laced the air. Mom sat beside her, Grayson's mom in a chair close by. The minister sat in front of her, holding her hand. The maid of honor stood near, her expression stern. Tears stained Elizabeth's cheeks, marring her makeup as she pleaded, I want the chance to find out. You think I want to be tied down to one man, having a family, working a 9 to 5, growing old without having done anything? Why not say something when we could still get the deposits back? Pop growled. You've wasted our money, your brother's money, all the friends who donated. Ours too, Grayson's dad said. It's hard to explain, but we had a party last night, Elizabeth began, looking at the engagement ring on her finger, and everybody started talking about boyfriends, countries they visited, things they've done. I realized that I haven't done anything. Even boring Ellsworth graduated college and went to some gay party in California he paid a couple $1,000s to get to. The San Francisco Pride Parade, I whispered to Grayson. Show you the pictures later. I want to travel. I want to experience life. I want to be free, Elizabeth whispered. She slipped the ornate ring off her finger. I love you, Grayson, but I don't want to marry you anymore. You can't give me what I want. I'm hoping we could be friends and move on. An emotional bomb went off in the room. Nobody spoke. Nobody moved. The faint hum of the air conditioner and the ruffle of fabric drowned out all other noise. Grayson inhaled and held his breath. Elizabeth shifted uncomfortably on the bed, unsure of who to look at. My throat tightened. So did my shoulders. Grayson's hand tensed about mine. Mom took the ring and gave it to Grayson's mom. Mom had paled. Grayson's mom blushed, her eyes lowered. She glanced at Grayson. A slight shake of his head, a slow exhale. She put the ring into her purse, where it quietly rattled until it settled on the bottom. The snap, as the purse closed, signified the engagement had just flatlined. I teared up. Not for me. For Grayson. I'm sorry, I whispered, but he didn't respond, save for a soft rub of his thumb on the back of my hand. The pain clogged my voice. A tear fell from Grayson's cheek. One tear. A second one fell, but this time from me. I pulled his hand to my heart, holding it there, clutching it so he knew he wasn't alone. A third tear, also from me. Grayson wiped it away. His world had just blown up. I expected Grayson to yell about how unfair this all was, or Dad to scream about the money, Grayson's parents to begin shouting about ruining Grayson's life, or the minister with a platitude about forgiveness and understanding. Trusted the gay guy to know what to do. I found my voice. Wow, sis, at least you finally finished something. Come on, Grayson, let's get you some champagne. I led him back into the reception hall, where the groomsmen were helping the caterers to fill 80+ wine glasses with champagne. For the bridal toast, that would never happen. I handed a fluted glass to Grayson, noting the wild look in his eyes. "You okay?" He nodded, taking a sip. "Don't lie," I said, leaning in close. "I kissed you, so I know better. We shared almond cake, so you have to tell the truth." "I feel..." He stared at the wedding cake, at the teal roses, at the edible pearls. A wild, insane look flashed through his eyes, and he smiled. "I still want to get married, but I chose the wrong sibling. I barely know you, but I feel like I've known you all my life." Grayson twisted his ring finger, staring at it as if imagining the gold band on it, his emotions running naked on his face. "Let's get married, you and I, right now. This is Nevada. We've already filled out and processed the wedding certificate. Maybe we can make an amendment. Change your name for yours. Will you marry me?" I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I've heard of rebound, but this? He shrugged. "Let's give it a year, see what happens. What do you say?" I looked at my left hand. Was I ready to commit to a stranger for the rest of my life? Yet Grayson was more than a stranger. We had shared almond cake. I chuckled, as if a slice of cake could make the decision. I glanced at the lemon vanilla wedding cake with frosting teal roses and edible pearls. The baker rushed in, carrying a cake box. He spotted us, ran over, and said, "My gift for your wedding." It was an almond cake with the words "Just Married" written on top in dark chocolate. We unboxed it and set it next to my sister's cake. "This must be the craziest thing I've ever done," I said, leaning over to whisper, "I do. I will marry you. Let's go talk to the minister." Epilogue. I could go into details about how the minister made some calls. We filled out some forms online, and Pop rushed to pick up the new license. Since we didn't have a ring, Pop loaned me his. He also gave me his tux, so Grayson and I matched. Both were a little big, but Mom made it work. The ceremony was an hour or so late, but it was worth it. Elsabeth didn't stick around. At our 1-year anniversary, we were still together, and we celebrated with almond cake. Every year, on our anniversary, we take our family and friends to the Dolce Bakery for a slice of almond cake. It's been 10 years since that crazy day, and as we've grown closer, we've grown happier. Sometimes, I wonder if Elsabeth finally found her happiness. She had a new boyfriend every year, went through jobs like I eat pancakes at the all-you-can-eat pancake palace, but surprisingly, she hasn't traveled. The furthest is LA. Grayson and I went to San Francisco every year for their Pride Parade, and we made it a point to climb the tallest mountain in every state. We're still working on that one. Did Elsabeth realize what she had given up? Sometimes she looks at us, a wistful look about her eyes, especially when she sees our 5-year-old twin boys. They love exploring with their dads. Grayson and I are happy, especially since we are finally taking that cruise to the Caribbean. Our boys think we're sailing into paradise. Later, I stood at the rail of the Celestial Voyager, staring at Santa Lucia with my husband and our boys. Their laughter drifted through the salty breeze, mingling with the rhythmic sway of the ship and the golden shimmer of the waves. The calm settling within me mirrored the vast, endless horizon. I found my happiness, my paradise, while sharing a slice of almond cake with my sister's groom 10 years ago. I'm Gio, and thank you for joining me. I'm the writer and editor and pretty much everything for this piece. Co-pilot helped me edit. Thank you for joining me, and thank you for your prayers and wishes for my health. I appreciate them. I'm doing much, much better, and I'm much stronger now. Thank you for helping me survive the last year. I appreciate it. Peace, my friends. I love you all.